fiber, and this is high speed, makes us more competitive as a region, and it's going to continue to expand. I told you you'd hear about nursing. Corning Community College's nursing school, a great expansion up there. This is actually in Corning, located at Denison Parkway and Chemung Street, which if you go to Corning Community College, you know that's the gateway to the college. That's literally the hill you go up to the college. This was the former Corning Hospital site, and this is on the west end of Denison. And then across the street are Reedman Purcell's 80 new upscale apartments for the downtown area in Corning. There's a big demand for this type of housing, particularly with millennials, and to some extent with folks who no longer want to keep up their house and spend money on maintenance. They have to do all the yard work and snow shoveling and all those kind of things. So another really good project. This is a new hotel in Corning that complements the expansion of the Glass Museum. This is the Hilton Garden Hotel that's on the city's north side, across the river, and a couple of 100 yards from the campus of the Glass Museum. So that's under construction. Some other big ones in the area, and that's one of the focuses of the URI, is big projects. The governor was here about a month ago, and we cut the ribbon on the new high-speed contract that Alstom has, a $2.5 billion contract for passenger high-speed rail, and an additional 500 good-paying jobs in the city of Cornell. Soon will be coming an announcement on Lockheed, which after Corning Incorporated employs about 5,700 people in the region. Lockheed is the next largest private employer. They employ about 2,800. Again, new nursing school in Binghamton, who does not only bachelor nursing, but master's level, and Binghamton is thrilled about having a new pharmacy school. So the pharmacy school is $70 million, the nursing school is $21 million. And both of these are, well, the one, this pharmacy school is brand new. They're on the same campus. This is a little better, closer up look at the nursing school. They're both under construction. If you go to Binghamton University, you will see one of the biggest construction projects in the entire state. They just keep building and growing, because it's such a great university in our region. The Veterinary School of Medicine is also building a new building. And again, these projects all got some money from the URI, but generally a fairly small amount. And another new one that we haven't actually rolled out yet, because we're waiting for final FDA approval, is Corning has a new product, a new division called Corning Pharmaceutical Technologies, where we're basically taking our expertise in Gorilla Glass, which obviously is very durable, and adding that to our antimicrobial glass, and getting into this field of basically pharmaceutical glass and packaging, which is a $3.8 billion global network. So we think this is going to present tremendous opportunities for Corning, because you may not realize this, but right now in the medical field, there's about a 28% failure rate with glass. And it's all kinds of different glass. And the two biggest problems they have is breakage and infection. And our glass products basically address both of those. So you'll be hearing a lot more about that. We're going to start in business here in Big Flats and then Sullivan Park. Then we had some other competitions. This governor really likes competition. So the Downtown Revitalization Initiative, which I will tell you that Watkins put in a tremendous application. We actually had 7 applications. And Elmira ended up winning $10 million. This is a new West Water Street, where Harold's, Rosenbaum's, Marvin's used to be. It's 54 units of housing with first floor retail, and that soon will be under construction. But part of their plan is Elmira Refresh. It's utilizing the Arnett, the Arena, the Clements Center, Elmira College, and leveraging those assets to help improve the city, which has been through some tough times in recent years. And the final competition was the airport, and we won $40 million. And by the way, all this is in addition to URI and the CFA money. And this is for the Elmira Corning Regional Airport. This is the courtyard, and here's the new terminal entrance. So that's in the final design stages now. We'll be out to bid. Tom Santulli says next spring, and then construction will start when the bids are awarded shortly thereafter. So I think that shows you we've been busy, but we got a lot more to do as we move forward over the next few years with the URI money. So I've talked long enough, but I did leave about 10 minutes for questions and answers. So with all of that, a little bit of information overload, but I do think it gives you, at least it gives me, a feel that there's a lot of things happening in the region. And again, I think it helps motivate people to get involved in your own communities and be part of the master plan and the planning that's going into applying for these applications, which is every July. Please submit. Last year we were actually down in applications, a little disappointing because for about the first 5 years it kept increasing. It got up to almost 200, and last year we had 170, so we were down about 30 applications. But part of that is because the URI also took other applications and funded those, so probably in total we were up. But anyway, I think there's a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of benefits for the region going forward with this initiative. So, questions? Yes, Matt?
Tom, a lot of the housing that's going up, is that geared towards a certain income level? Is it, more middle income, lower income?
It is all of the above. So there really is, first of all, there's a real initiative by the governor, and he was mad the legislature didn't come back to approve more affordable housing. And so if you go in your individual communities, and you had one up here, Elmira recently got an affordable one done. Corning is doing Lamphere, which is an affordable one. There was a couple done in Ithaca, a couple in Binghamton. So there's a lot of affordable housing, and there's a lot more on the drawing board. But in addition to that, you can see there's a lot of market rate housing that's out there and being developed. And then there's like Reedman Purcell, some of the upper scale. The Corning CFA project is another one that's market rate. So there's also a big shortage in Ithaca, and they're doing, again, both a combination of market rate and affordable. So there's clearly a drive to do more of that and to replace some of the old housing stock that exists in all of our communities. Yes, sir.
How is Southern Tier Soaring being marketed? I know collectively in this room, I'm learning something. I'm sure everybody else is what's going on, and that's the reason you're here to tell us about it. But we can be telling people too. But I think this type of positive stuff, is infectious.
Yes.
When you start talking about it. And
well, I will tell you in all candor, that's one of our disappointments, because in the URI we put $25 million to market, and the state said, no, we're going to spend that money on projects. We'll take care of the marketing. So what happened is, and Judy knows this, and Tim O'Hara, and a few of the people involved, Dennis Fagan, they came and they met with us, and we gave them a lot of feedback, a lot of information. They are putting together a marketing plan. We have not seen it yet. We're supposed to see it very soon. And they promise us that they're going to blanket the area, the state, and basically they're doing this in the 3 regions that won the URI. Now, being kind of involved in this for the last 42 years, my prediction is it will run fairly simultaneously with the governor's run for re-election. Speculating, don't know that for sure, but you know, so my hunch is seriously that probably starting about this summer or fall, it'll start running a lot. And the good news, at least from my perspective, is we got a lot more to market than startup New York that, you know, really didn't have much. I mean, they did a lot of marketing, but there wasn't a lot of substance, or there wasn't a lot of projects that came out of that. Yes, Ted?
Tom, the 3 big awards were really totally surrounded.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Ted hit something that I failed to mention that's really important. So within basically the central New York area, so the 3 award winners were Syracuse, Rochester, and the Southern Tier. So we're all contiguous and we're all right in the middle of the state, literally from north to south. In total, that's going to leverage $9 billion when you do the 5-to-1. And you know what else is in there? It's a huge, I think, economic driver for this part of the state in the next few years. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, Beth?
What advice or suggestion would you give to someone who maybe has the energy and the funding to submit a CFA, but is maybe intimidated by or concerned about the amount of administration or administrative responsibilities if they were to be awarded the CFA?
So the number one, well, there's kind of a couple, in my view, simple steps. So first of all, get a good engineering firm or a good planning group, because, you know, you really, the devil's in the details, and you got to have those details firmed up to get the best project. And then get with your economic development agency in your community or your area, because those are your advocates at the regional council. So, you know, you want to tie into whether it's Project Seneca or the master plan for your area. And the best way to do that is to take your idea and vet it, I call it, with, you know, a good engineering firm or planning group and your economic development agency. And I think if you do that, and the groups that have done that have been quite successful. Because again, it all ties together. And they are, you know, they'll be the ones that give you the advice that say, you know, you got to have the 5-to-1 leverage, you know, what's your cost per job, you know, okay, if this isn't a job project, but it's more a community development, do you meet the criteria, and here's how you shape it to meet the criteria for downtown development or community development or housing development or whatever category you're in. But that's my simple advice, frankly. And I know you're in tourism, so you want to do yours in conjunction, as you have, with the state tourism plan, the regional tourism plan, and Michael's done the same thing. That's why he's been quite successful up here. Other questions? Yes, sir.
Curious about that high-speed rail project. What are the proposed routes, expected completion dates, and just the fun? What's the top speed going to be in between?
Top speed right now is 225 miles an hour. Now the routes, we're not in that end of it. Okay, the end that we're in is making the cars, making the trains, and so, you know, I mean, I know the Northeast corridor is being looked at between Philadelphia and New York, and, but I mean, what's going to happen here is these various entities, many of which are public, are going to go out to bid for high-speed trains to replace existing trains. And the cars, the only American manufacturer, is in Hornell, New York, believe it or not. So it's a great opportunity for them to make this product and then ship it to, whether it's Houston or Philadelphia or, Canada, or whoever is going to buy these. But there's a lot of emphasis on high-speed rail. Okay, Judy, is it 1 o'clock? Is it? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I just want to thank Judy, but too, I want to thank Joe Roman, because he's the one that will report back to the state on how I did.
Good job. Great. I think we're going to dive right into the next session so that we can get you all on the roads as quickly as possible. So we're going to do things slightly differently. We're going to sort of combine the technical assistance with the cluster session meetings. You'll see a sheet in your folder that are guiding questions to kind of walk you through the process. We've divided you up into different in-groups. You can move between groups if you need to. The funders will be moving between the different cluster groups. So we've got agriculture here in the back. We've got intermunicipal collaboration and safety. What's the other one in the back corner?
Public safety, community facilities.
And community facilities, sorry, I was missing one. Parks and Rec is over here. We've got education and workforce development on the upper right. And out in the lobby, to your left would be arts. And in the cafeteria, we have economic development. So please use the sheets. Can I ask if there are any collaborations, or has anybody found a prom date here, or anybody found a connection that they want to talk about collaborations with? Okay, if you do, you get to come up here with Judy and get your picture taken by this awesome poster. Just in your prom photo, we'll even get corsages for you, okay? But we hope that you've got that. So if there's no serious collaborations yet, use this as an opportunity to figure out how you thematically can bolster each other's efforts. Okay, and it can be, again, it can be as simple as writing a letter of support, or saying, I know somebody who's done that, the best practices, or it's always nice to have what I call a Greek chorus. Get somebody who knows the topic area but doesn't know your grant applications that will say, hey, in mid-June, I'll read through it to make sure it makes sense to an outsider, okay? We were just hearing from one of the funders who said, I'm not an expert in everything, and it's new to the process. So have somebody who hasn't gotten in, dug in deep into your grant application, who can review it for you. The other thing that was pointed out to us is that in the CFA process, it's hard to really make them sing because there are word counts and it is limited. So before you go off and write huge narratives, keep in mind that there are often 850-word character limits to some of your questions. You'll be able to recycle, if you do a concept paper, you'll be able to recycle it at some point somewhere in the CFA, but it's different than your standard foundation grant where you're really given a huge space for a narrative. Because of the size and the number of applications that are reviewed, they of course have to limit it, so that's an important thing to keep in mind. Okay, so with that, you've got about an hour to meet together and to meet with the funders, and we look forward to hearing what you've learned and what you've collaborated on. And I believe there is wine coming at 2 o'clock. Great, thanks so much.